A Ring doorbell camera actually captures Caleb, his roommate, and their other future roommate taking the dog outside. And sadly, this sighting would be the last recorded visual of Caleb. And you can see him wearing a white button-down shirt, teal-colored pants, and a light hat. And shortly after returning to the apartment, the friend who was not living there yet went home. And then around 2:20 a.m., his roommate said he was going to bed. But Caleb said he planned on staying up a little bit longer. He was actually going to order food from Uber Eats for the following day, or I guess later that day technically, for lunch while he was fishing. And I guess this was a common thing for him to do, to order food to bring fishing with him. This time he went out the front door, and when he took the dog out earlier with his friends, he had done it through the back door, and the Ring camera was facing the back of the house. So there was no camera out to capture this second time he brings the dog out by himself. And to my knowledge, as far as law enforcement has shared publicly, they do not know where his phone was when it was shut off or died at 2:58 a.m. Now, obviously, these details are super important to the investigation as a whole, but also important to note because when it comes to his phone records, there's a bit of an anomaly, or at least an anomaly is what his dad, Randy, is calling it. And the first, and this is super, super weird, at 3:03 a.m., after his phone has either died or shut off, another Snapchat is sent. The Snapchat was sent to a high school friend of his who was living in San Antonio, and it was a blurry picture of a bridge over a drainage ditch, which was located near his apartment. And that picture is, I don't know how you guys feel about it. To me, it's really eerie. It's just kind of a random image. It kind of gives me the creeps. The other anomaly was at 3:12 a.m. when his phone pinged from a different location than his apartment. And not only that, it pinged from about a half a mile to a mile away from his apartment, which is super strange considering we know that his phone was shut off at 2:58 a.m. And obviously this part of things has been talked about a lot online, and I want to be really cautious when bringing it up and not speculate at all, because truly no one knows exactly why these anomalies are happening or how to explain them right now. I mean, it's very confusing. But here's what I will tell you about these two timestamps, and this information comes directly from his family. According to Randy, who interviewed with Jennifer Coffindaffer, who has come on this show before, I know some of you are familiar, he mentions that it's possible that the Snapchat Caleb sent his friend was actually sent earlier than 3:03, but just wasn't received until then, which definitely was my first thoughts. Basically, he's saying there was a delay from send time to receive time, which personally, I don't use Snapchat anymore. I haven't used Snapchat in years. I know it's really kind of come back, especially with the younger generations, but I don't know how common that is. Maybe you guys will have thoughts on that. But obviously, I do know that text can delay, and sending photos and videos and other things like that, there can be delays. So this was kind of my first thoughts as well. But as for the phone ping, Randy just says that he believes this is an anomaly. The data from Caleb's cell provider is among many things that's being investigated, and at least right now, there's not much to explain what it means. So physically speaking, they haven't found anything to explain Caleb's sudden disappearance, which is incredibly frustrating. And another thing I wanted to note is it's not like he lived in a sketchy area. I mean, I haven't ever been there myself, but from what I've gathered, it doesn't seem like it was considered an unsafe place to live in any way. And the cottage's apartment complex is known to be fairly safe. In fact, a lot of students live there if they're living off of campus. Unfortunately, though, and this really honestly just pisses me off, their security cameras weren't working at the time that Caleb went missing, which I just believe is a huge failure on their part. And I'm getting so tired of hearing this in cases. I swear, like 1 out of every 4 cases I cover, there is a failure of a security camera somewhere. So really, the people closest to Caleb and his family have had to do all of the outreach when it comes to making people aware of Caleb's disappearance, getting the word out. And that's really frustrating because that's honestly the last thing that a family should have to worry about in a time like this. But they're doing it anyway, and I'm really impressed with them. I mean, I'm always impressed with families who are able to take things into their own hands and really, push as hard as they can. And For families that can't mentally take that on or don't know even where to start, don't have the resources, I don't blame them at all, because that is so difficult. Not only were they physically searching, but they also spent a lot of time talking to Caleb's friends and his roommates who were spending the most time with him leading up to his disappearance. And I just wanted to be crystal clear on this because I'm sure people are wondering and will ask. Caleb's friends and all of his roommates have been cleared of any involvement in his disappearance. And I already said it, but so was the Uber Eats driver and everyone else in his family as well. And it really has been a thorough investigation into all of these people, and they went through a lot to be cleared. Randy himself has spoken out and said that Caleb surrounded himself with a great group of friends, and really at no point in time did their family suspect that anyone in his life could be involved in his disappearance. I mean, it really never crossed their mind. Of course, like I said, they were still looked into because police had to do their due diligence, but there was nothing to suggest that any of them were involved.